Girl, who?
I said, yeah, we're live.
Okay.
We're live now from New York.
What's the T.S. Madison show? We're live from
My
Jack
couch.
Grinder Scruff Facebook.
Welcome back, everyone, to Kiki with the Bros.
Okay, we're back.
We are
Part
back.
2. Okay.
Woo woo. So good they wanted us back again. Love that for
Yeah.
us.
I just had a
Y'all
Rice
changed outfits and
Krispie
everything.
treat.
We did. Just a little.
I want to
change.
so like this part, like this was I was just before we came back on, I was just talking about how this was my favorite part about like media representation and like representation of both positive and negative and how it impacts gay men of color and HIV. I'm gonna say my thoughts last. Y'all go ahead.
Why are you going to save yours for last?
Girl, what's the question?
What's the question? Well, how's it? What's the impact for you, positive and negative? What have you seen? Like, how do we navigate that space of those stigma pieces existing in media when it comes to gay men and HIV?
I have like very clear examples that I have like very clear memories of. One I think of immediately from a very positive standpoint, I think, was Noah's Ark. Which they're supposed to be getting a reboot. I really would like them to hurry up.
Who was your favorite character?
I don't think that needs a reboot, though.
I do.
Who was your favorite character?
I don't like how it ended
do.
because it ended like with
I
the
think
movie,
that-
right? And like
I
ended
just
it.
feel
with
like
the marriage.
some things are good.
Yeah,
for-
on the movie
with the
though.
moment that
Like
they were in, though.
they like canceled it and it was like, oh, we're gonna give you a movie.
Because I feel like it's gonna come back. It's gonna be weird or something.
I don't. But I don't.
Shouts on
I,
Noah's
think,
Ark.
I feel like so much has changed from when you're annoying. I feel like so much has changed
Well, I
from
love
when
She
it
is way
came
out.
out.
Ooh.
I am not.
It still look good.
I'm not.
Wait, Wade's the main character, right?
No,
Wade's
that's
not.
not.
Oh, Wade's the trade.
Child.
You need to go
No,
watch
so
it
you didn't watch the
again.
show.
No, I did. I ain't watched it in like 5 years.
Well, me,
Okay,
it's
I
on
haven't
YouTube.
either. So
Well, the main character is
Anywho.
in the title.
Oh, Noah.
Girl. Anyway,
so moving on. But one knows like in the show, Wade, you have different characters who. Alex. It was Alex. I'm saying Wade. It was Alex who worked at a sexual health clinic, like
Yeah.
you did,
Yeah.
right? And so
She had
for
a
me,
husband.
was it Trey?
her husband was a nurse.
The light skinned one, right?
Yeah.
Yes, not that's the one you remember. Anyway, so
No. That's don't do me. don't.
But anyway, the point is, on Noah's Ark, you had that was the first time I think I saw black gay men openly talking about sex. And you had, I'm trying to remember the one that like they,
Miss Mamas. I know who you're talking
the
about.
one that
She
the one
was-
that was like very like was very free with how they had sex.
was free
That
for
wasn't
child.
secretly in love with Noah.
was it a secret? I think we having a whole Noah's Ark breakdown, but
Anyway,
I'm gonna have to watch it again.
yeah. The point is, that was the first show I think that I saw black queer men openly talking about sex and it not be a very like taboo you're a whore or like you're the cause of the destruction of humanity because of this virus, right? But then I think of how many other shows around that same time displayed it very differently. So I think about when Girlfriends went on Netflix, I went back and rewatched it, and they have an episode where
that was a mess.
Joan and Tony's friend from college, I think, she's like in the kitchen cutting up a salad or something in the kitchen, and she, I don't know, cuts her hand, right? And they're like, "Oh my gosh, gasp!"
yeah, they was freaking out.
Because she's living with HIV, and it's like, "Oh, I got HIV because my husband was on a down low," which.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Like, why is that the narrative that we choose to paint about how HIV is spread throughout this community? Again, I'm not saying it's not a route of transmission, but it's not the only route of transmission. And so I think those two representations, I think, for me, found it a lot in how I consider this virus and how I consider how it's represented.
I will say,
Yeah.
they would have chewed up Tracy Ellis Ross in her afro if that happened in 2024. But and whoever wrote that, because that was an uncomfortable. I rewatched that like probably a year ago, whenever it came back on Netflix, and that episode, hindsight, Sony was like makes you so uncomfortable to watch.
So that's real. So imagine
Yeah.
people who really
Yeah,
went
yeah,
through
that's
that. Like,
which is probably even worse.
You give you your own silverware at a dinner. Like, no, you can't eat off our plates or cups. Like,
honey, what was you about to say, Chris?
You said something that made me think of something. You said on the show that they said something like her husband was on the DL.
Mm-hmm.
And that just makes me think that Black women right now are the highest rated, highest newly diagnosed right now. So I wish that we could come down to like a reason why that is. That's like a whole separate thing that just went in my head.
A list or
go to Dr.
how you want to
Nash.
do
Give
this?
us.
Dr. Nash.
Because like it's I mean, and again, I'm not a Black woman, so I want to be very cognizant of that. What I think I've noticed, and I'd say this just in terms of research and talking to people, even like when I used to test and talk to clients, again, I cannot stress enough how sexual education is lacking so much. It is just not. I think Ohio is one of the states still where abstinence is still kind of taught a lot, which is ridiculous. Again, nothing against people who are abstinent. Love that for you. But that is just not the reality for all people. And so if you're teaching people that abstinence is the only way you're going to protect yourself against this virus, what does that do? Two, like we say, marketing, the way that we talk about this virus, if we're only talking about transmissions between queer men, where does that leave Black women? Where does it leave Black women in that narrative? Where does it lead them? Where are their programs, right? Where is their Sisters in Unity, right? And again, there are programs, right? I think of Shelly in Akron who has Sassy Power Sisters, right?
Yeah.
And she's run that program for I don't know how many years, right?
So there's I forget the doctor's name. She's a
Sharon down in Dayton.
no, the one that worked with us closely, Seema. She got something like that too, right?
I think she works in collaboration. I know she works in collaboration with
Shout out to my girl.
Yeah.
with Shelly, but we're not seeing the representation there that we should be seeing. And the conversation is not being had. And then we think about the fact that, again, we know that in terms of getting tested, men are not getting tested at the same rates that women are. Men do not go to the doctor at the same rates that women are. And so we know that women are being seen more in these medical, in these agencies, in these facilities, in these situations, because they're being seen more by their doctor in comparison to men. So, and again, there's a host of other factors, but
If you have a hole that is receiving or getting pleasure, it needs to be tested.
Not a hole.
Turn my mic up.
please.
Turn it up.
Test the
If you have a hole
Swab it.
that is
Include your mouth.
receiving pleasure,
What were you going to say? What were you about to say?
Girl, he was like,
I got tongue tied because
I
you said
see.
that. Include your mouth. Any hole on your body, it needs to be tested.
Yeah.
okay.
At least every 3 to 6 months.
Yes.
Yes, window periods. Every 3 to 6 months.
A lot of people forget that.
I feel like it's important to like, even like when I'm deciding, like when we do like marketing things, and we're like choosing like images and stuff, I think it's important to have marketing materials and images of people like that look like regular people that come into our clinics that we talk to and engage with in the communities. Like whether, I think there was a big thing of putting only conventionally attractive gay men on, like even like when we see like these PrEP campaigns or for like HIV medications or anything like we do, I try to like make sure it's represented at all people that no matter what they look like, because that's the reality. I remember when we were picking our like HIV kits, our new ones, and comparison to the model that was on the original ones versus now, everyone was like, well, what happened to that fine man that was on the, I'm like, girl,
Are you
the
using
boys
that
y'all
test
sleeping
kit?
with look like this. Okay, so we gonna put on the boys that y'all sleeping with on the box. Thank
Make
you.
it up.
Okay,
true.
but true. So I think that's important. We just got live in reality. I get it. Maybe something more be eye catching sometimes when you see a naked man on a thing. But
Sex
reality,
sells.
yeah. But honey,
Sex comes in many forms.
exactly. We're to get Joe Schmo.
You might want to listen to the producer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me tap in a little closer. Anyway, Also, I need some cue cards. I think I'm over this little piece of paper, y'all.
Kiki with the bro
On the
cards
back,
would be
that's what I was
broken.
thinking.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Yeah, how can you not say cunt? Oh, can we say cunt? Oh.
We can now. Other media
Cue
representation.
cards
Yeah,
would be
like,
cute.
little like, yeah, Kiki with the bros, like, I'm like Wendy Williams.
Like
You
a
already
half
know.
an AIDS walk, you know. Cue cards. would be
Yeah, I
cute.
seen that.
Wendy.
It was given definitely like, you know, I'm the Wendy of Equitas, like, you know.
I see where
I
she
could
ended up.
go. I could see that.
The Wendy, I like my other persona better.
Who's that?
Oh, I know you're talking about. Yeah.
Regina.
So media representation.
Yeah. Intersectionality and discrimination, y'all. Let's get to that point. How does intersectionality of race, sexual orientation, and HIV status contribute to discrimination within and outside the LGBT community? We kind of touched on this when we were talking about like
So break that down for the people who need that broke down, like
Okay, well,
myself, because I know there's some people
intersectionality
out there.
is the diverging of multiple things at once, like multiple social identities and social determinants of health, things of that nature combined. Like we all have intersectionalities, being gay men of color. Okay,
You might just need to glue it to your face at this point.
we all have intersectionalities. being gay men of color, and so living with HIV. So how do you think all of those factors contributed to discrimination, not only inside of our own community, but outside? And honestly, which one do you think is more impactful to you? I'll say this for me. It's been, especially being more visible and occupying more space and queer spaces that most gay men occupy. I always feel a little bit more slighted when it's like my people that I share the same experiences as that lend to like harmful language and things of that nature, more than even like my, you know, heterosexual cisgender counterpart. But that's my experience. I don't know how y'all feel about that.
No, I feel the same. Like I feel like when it's coming closer to your experience, like someone that you experience the same type of lifestyle, and they're being negative towards you, it definitely hits different. Especially because they could have walked the same life as you, and you're judging me. It definitely hurts different.
And I think it's like, just to be honest, I feel like gay men, and I've probably been guilty of it as well, we get synonymous with being somewhat misogynistic sometimes. We discriminate within each other, within those intersectionalities a lot, and use a lot of harmful language, especially when, you know, people get into it or have a disagreement. A lot of times those are the first things that we hurl at each other.
People love a good health read.
Okay.
It's really, I feel like in what you're talking about, like that's a really big topic, right? Because you're talking about a community that's already very, I wouldn't say very marginalized, but has historically been marginalized, which is Black people within larger society. And then you narrow that down to Black queer people, right? And I think a lot of times, and we see it all, or I felt like I always use I statements. I see all the time on social media where you have people saying like, okay, well, why, when something happens for like queer people, right, marriage equality or representation on a TV show, or it becomes this thing of like, well, why are we having queer characters, why not Black characters, which doesn't really make sense, right? Because they're Black and queer. So again, intersectionality, right? So like both things exist at the exact same time. And so and then when we think about people living with HIV or affected by HIV, really, I'd rather say, within the Black queer community, it's like you have a community that is unfortunately very affected by this virus, and yet somehow still uses it as a read against you simply because it is a position of privilege that they have over you, which is their health, right? And so a lot of it, I think, when we're having these conversations and we're talking about what does it look like for equity, what does it look like for us as a community, and whatever community we're talking about here, when we're talking about moving us all forward, it cannot be a thing where we want to move the most privileged part of that community forward and leaving the other ones behind. We think about this when we think about the Black community. We think about many times cisgender Black men being very misogynistic against Black women, and then but they're a part of the Black community, right? So what does it look like to actually move us all forward, whether it be queerness, whether it be Blackness, whatever that may be, instead of trying to leave and just you assume a position of power over the other people?
Like that.
Yeah.
The doctor.
Okay.
Go ahead,
That
doctor.
was really nice.
I just feel like we have to stray away from that. Like, I mean, I don't think we realize in the moment how harmful those things are. And that's why I said, even to myself, like, I had to check myself, and like when I get upset about something and how I engage with somebody, I have to approach those things differently. Like I can't just be going off the cuff reading them. Not even about like health status, because I think that is like people take that too far. And like you said, it's like a status you're trying to hold over somebody. More of like just how we engage with each other in general. Like I feel like we're, as gay men, we can be the nastiest to each other. And that's unfortunate. And I'm like, that's something I'm like, okay, I had to be more cognizant of myself. So I was always like, let me start taking accountability, especially since I've been getting older.
I feel like I've experienced like the health thing where gay men were trying to say the first thing, their negative thing they said was, something about their health. And that's something you don't really want to play about because it can literally happen to you, you know?
Oof, child.
Well, also like, I'm just like, in general, this is something that has predominantly over time affected our community. Why are you, and because of those like social drivers of health and all those things that we have not had accessibility to, and like even when it comes to sex ed, like we're not, sex ed for gay men or queer people in general is not taught or innately taught in like schools and those like educational settings. So like, what's the point of using that to read? Because you're really reading yourself. Maybe you have that health status over somebody, but the reality is we've kind of been all dealt the same kind of like the same deck of cards here. So I think like with intention, it's being intentional, like even like showing up in the work that we do, we, and this is real minuscule in comparison, but people assume we have HIV, or at least in my experience, people assume I'm living with HIV because of the work that I do. And I think that that's its own, its own like whole stigma around that, which I think when I engage in those conversations, I always like to know, why did you assume that? Like, what's the why outcome of this? It's like, why are you just assuming that? It's always interesting to me. Like when I'm at the bar, we're at the bar testing. They're like, yeah, girl, on the 6th line, oh, you got HIV? Like, that's what because they see a table like us passing out condoms. It's like very interesting to me. Like, I'm like, okay, well,
I'll be like,
in those moments, you have to look at that. And some of those can be a teachable moment as well, because maybe they need somebody who is HIV positive. So they're trying to figure out. A lot of people that are HIV positive don't disclose their status. So someone as 19, 20 who's newly diagnosed needs a support from, I needed that, and I didn't have that in the community. From an older person in the community who said, I'm also HIV positive, do this, this, and this, or take your damn medicine and things like that. They need to hear that, these young demos, the young girls. Take your medicine.
Take your medicine.
So you can live a long, healthy life.
I definitely agree with that. Like, and I think that lends to like people not wanting to talk about it is because of what we just talked about earlier is like, that's the first thing you try to use against me. If we have a disagreement or we're not getting along or we fall out for whatever the situation may be, that's the first thing you go to. So it puts in that space of like, oh, I don't want to show up as my authentic self. I don't want to disclose this part of my life that may be actually really affecting me because I don't know what the outcome or I don't know what the reaction is going to be, whether it's in dating, whether it's in friendship, or whether it's even like in a personal relationship with your family. So I want to turn to more of like a positive, even though I feel like this whole conversation has been positive, but like, where do you think sharing, like, I've really enjoyed seeing you recently on the news, someone we were talking about the AIDS walk.
Thank you so much.
Go ahead.
Woo-woo.
And honestly, I wonder, because I saw that you said, like, maybe it's not a big deal now, but you said it like, I've been living with HIV. You said it on like, that's a large platform to say it on Spectrum News. Shout out to Spectrum. Did is that something you probably wouldn't have done even like 2 years ago? Because I'm like, that's really powerful.
I would not have done that 2 years ago. But shout out to therapy and to my life coach, Shantae.
I love Shantae.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know there's a need in our community just for me being in prevention and people coming up to the table, asking questions. And I felt like, why not? It's my time to do it now to help the younger demographic or help anybody that's battling with coming out as gay or coming out as pos to their family. I can be their support. I'm that ally for them, you know? So that feels good. At first it was scary, but then doing it and receiving the love and like the support and then the questions, because it's a lot of people that don't know about sex and it's having sex. When I say don't know about sex, but like all that entails with sex, like getting tested and the prep and the douche and all of that. Yes.
Education.
Yes. And that's why we have Dr. Nash.
Sexual education.
Yes.
Just to be clear real quick, I want to make sure people don't, I am not a medical doctor by training. Please do not. Just to be clear.
He's our future Dr.
But
Nash,
I just wanna make sure that's on the record here before someone comes and try to sue me.
I thought you was a doctor.
Again, like sexual education is lacking, right? So I agree with what you're saying. You sharing your status in such an open way, and I want to highlight something you said again. You've said it numerous times throughout the podcast, which is therapy, which is another thing that's just not as accessible as it should be. Can be such a helpful tool in realizing and coming to be your full self and just coming to terms with who you are and your experiences and understanding where you are in life. And so again, just another some more kudos to you.
Yeah. I need a therapist. So reach out to me. If you're a therapist, gay, black, man, or a black female, reach out to me. I need a therapist.
So I'm going to do a quick little plug. Psychology Today allows you to...
Yeah, girl, we're just going to send you a link. So we know Chris isn't in therapy, but
I've been to therapy.
No, therapy shame.
I'm not shaming, but she shared it with the collective, or he.
Or me is wild.
So, but yeah. So, when did y'all start that journey? Have you always been in therapy, or is this recent for you? I started going when I was like 25.
Yeah, I started. My mom passed 2021. I started like 2020, unpacking a lot of things because therapy starts from childhood, and I needed answers from a lot of things. So I sat down with my mother first and got some closure on things, and then she was like, "Let's do therapy." And I tried therapy in my younger years, but I was preyed upon from older men. So that's why I'm like on the fence with men therapists. But that's another day, another episode. But yeah, I really started like in 2020. What did I say? 2020. Yeah.
Well, that was big for you to go back after having that experience.
Yeah.
So I definitely give you your kudos for that.
I think it's dope also that you and your mom was able to have that time before she passed, I feel like if you didn't have that time and then you started therapy, you would probably be like, I still wish I had those moments to like talk out the things that we talked about in that. So that's dope. That's why you got to start doing things now before it's too late.
Yeah.
So take your medicine.
I would say and I feel like like guys, you change them out. I feel like you got to change out your therapist. Like, I'm over her.
You said you change out guys.
Like you change
like a roster, like a.
You know how you have a roster, I'm over him.
No, I don't. What you mean?
What you mean?
You said
like a revolving door.
No, I'm just saying. Some people have a roster, and then they switch them out. Like I feel like you need to upgrade. Sometimes you need a new therapist.
Yeah,
like sometimes you need to get a new.
Who's hoe?
You do.
You said you have a.
I will say to that point about therapy.
Sorry. I'm talking about when I say. Let me.
No, he said a revolving door, and I said, "What? Your hoe?"
Therapy.
Who's hoe?
Therapy can be a very beneficial thing. I will say, in my experience,
y'all all need to get swabbed.
You first.
I get tested on a regular basis, baby. In my household, I grew up in a household where it was very much like If you can't tell us, why would you tell somebody else, right? And so for me, therapy, I was very much so like it's not that I didn't see the benefits of it. I think I was just very scared to start that journey because I was scared to unpack everything. I didn't know where to start. Where do you begin, right? I think I started therapy 2019. And I reached a point in my life where I was like, I need assistance. And like, while my friends and my mentors are very beneficial and have been there for me, I cannot completely lean on them for everything that I need in my own perspective, in my own journey. I need a very neutral party, right? Because sometimes I also want to talk about them and I can't talk about them to them.
Right.
So, I'm a very, very, very.
We could talk about them right now.
Not doing that.
shade.
So
I just feel like for me, when I was saying earlier about switching out your therapist, like back to that,
Too late to clean that
originally
up.
went and it didn't. So I went to therapy around the same time, 2019, 2020, pandemic vibes, and
That's why I went to therapy too.
okay, and because we all needed therapy during the pandemic, and my first therapist was great, had a great time. They ended up going somewhere else, and then now I have my new one, and I feel like I've taken away things, keep things from each of them, because I've never had really a bad experience with therapy, quite honestly, so I'm lucky for that. And now I feel like I'm at a point where, okay, what's the next? I think I'm at a point where I'm thinking about like the transition with my therapist, because I started with him when I was like 25, 24, and now I just turned 28, and I feel like I'm in a different stage of my life in terms of how I show up in the world. And
it's developed.
Huh?
Their frontal cortex is developed.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah. Just how I show up in the world, and I just like evolved so much that I think then it's going into the next phase. But what I appreciated about it, it really had me do some self-reflection, because I think therapy also taught me that I need to put myself in other people's shoes and extend grace, because even like my relationship with like parents or like friends, like I always think we always have an issue of humanizing our parents and not realizing like they have their own experiences and traumas. But for me, how I showed up in the space as just a grown person, a grown man now is different from when I was not going to therapy, and I didn't really know how to take ownership of my mental health. And I think it goes and evolves into this conversation. I think those who are living with HIV, or those who are vulnerable or susceptible to HIV, of contracting HIV, a lot of times it goes at unpacking our traumas, and like why do we don't feel comfortable talking about these things. Even talking about sex in general is something that we don't necessarily normalize it. We normalize it in a Kiki way, no pun intended, but like really sitting down and having those conversations. Okay, ate that up. Yeah, so I really am happy y'all came, and I'm really happy that y'all
Y'all got a gift?
no.
Oh, I thought you were about to give me a gift. Because they give gifts on the other podcast.
They do.
They get,
They
like,
do.
little gifts.
A water bottle at least.
Something.
Oh yeah, we got stuff in the back.
Here you go, boo. Equitas Health.
Didn't we feed y'all?
We fed
I didn't get
y'all.
nothing.
Girl, I'm grateful.
Well, we're not the producer. Like he didn't. Next time maybe production will have like a setup. Y'all send us your.
What's it called?
Production team.
No.
What's it called?
What's that thing
Craft
called?
table.
No, like if you're an artist, you have to send your requirements.
runner?
Yeah, send us your runner next time. But CC Jerica.
Oh my God.
And you'll make sure everything. 'Cause that's production, boo. We talented.
If you are someone and is struggling with depression and needs help or needs someone to talk to, reach out for guidance. If you're someone who is newly diagnosed and needs support, reach out for guidance. If you are someone that loves community and wants to be surrounded by like-minded men, reach out to Kiki with the Bros for Brothers in Unity.
Yes, shout out to Brothers in Unity.
Yeah.
my close
Also,
out.
shout out to Equitas Health. That's why we're here.
Yes, oh my gosh.
The Equitas.
Yes.
EQH, honey.
Take pride in your health, as my shirt says.
It is the upcoming Pride season. Can't wait to see you all out there.
Well, this might
What
post
does the
after.
shirt say?
Take pride in your health.
Oh, that's cute. That's cute.
That's
Shout
what
out
we
to
got fall 2024.
Yeah.
What's your closing thoughts, Chris?
I really enjoyed this this episode. I think this is like one of my favorite episodes.
Took us like three times to
Girl, you.
They do not have to know that.
Whose fault was that, baby?
Yeah.
So she wanted to bring that up.
Yeah. She didn't want to cancel 3-5 times on us. Day of, we over here ready for production. Where you at? Where you at? Oh, I ain't coming.
Okay.
Yeah, like you got lost in the sauce.
I love y'all. This is a great platform.
Thank you all for having us.
Shout out to Kiki.
No, and also I really want to say thank you guys for being vulnerable on that subject, or the subject that we talked about. It's very, like we already said, people don't really talk about it. So being vulnerable reaches everybody in the community.
I do have one thing I want to say too. So I want to shout out to both of you. You know, I've worked with y'all for a long period of time, and thank you for being a part of my growth.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay.
And I watch you grow, and I'm so proud.
I agree.
On some real shit. Okay, we out of here.